You have some breaking news, though, from Steve Kovac regarding Apple. What are we learning, Steve?
Yes, Scott, this is just coming out in Bloomberg. Apple appears to be shaking up its leadership around artificial intelligence. This, of course, follows what we learned a couple weeks ago, that they're delaying that big AI Siri update. And speaking of Siri, it sounds like, according to this report, at least CEO Tim Cook has, I'll just quote them here, lost confidence in their top AI executive. His name is John Giannandrea. It doesn't say he's losing his job, but he is losing a lot of responsibility. Instead, he is going to be no longer in charge of the Siri group. Keep in mind, this is the big part of Apple Intelligence that was supposed to launch this year, no longer launching. Instead, this is going to go, sorry, let me just get this figured out here. So it's going to be the guy behind the Vision Pro is actually going to move over and start taking over some management of Siri instead of John Giannandrea. As far as we know, Giannandrea still has his job, and this new Siri executive will also be reporting to Craig Federighi, who is the head of all software at Apple. But as Scott, we've been talking about this so long. This is a huge miss for Apple when they came out a couple weeks ago and said they're not going to be able to ship the artificial intelligence products that they promised. It puts a lot of things into play. Their success in China, which obviously hinged a lot on artificial intelligence coming out. That's still expected to launch this spring, but all the AI features that you have on these Apple Intelligence system right now, they're pretty minor. They don't work as well. And this was supposed to be the one that really brought Apple into the forefront in this AI story, competing with OpenAI, competing with all these other companies we talk about. So this is seems to be a big executive shakeup. I just talked to Apple. They are not commenting on this, which is also, to be honest, a little surprising to me, since this is such a big part of what the company's future is hinging on, what iOS is hinging on. And I expect us to learn more in June at the Worldwide Developers Conference about what they're going to do to really steer this ship around, Scott.
So we discussed, you and me, the day that John Gruber of Daring Fireball wrote that blog, said to be the guy, right? When he writes something, you listen. Not only do you and me
they listen
and
to
the
Cupertino.
Investor community listen, at the highest levels of Apple Park, they listen.
That's exactly right.
Do you think that his critical blog post where he declared, quote, something is rotten at Apple was the final straw that forced Apple to make a move?
That's unclear. I don't know if it's the final straw. I guarantee you it had influence in there. Gruber is a guy who has been very close to Apple, for years. And he's obviously always been on Apple's side on a lot of things. Even when Apple might kind of screw up or do something wrong, he's always the Apple defender to come out there and say, no, wait, you guys are looking at it wrong. And so when he turns on Apple, that turns a lot of heads down there. So yes, that was a significant moment. I considered it an inflection point. I've been following his work for so many years. Even when I disagreed with him, it was hard not to disagree with what he wrote the other day, and I guarantee people were reading that. Did that cause Tim Cook to change his mind? I don't know. That's a question for Tim Cook. But again, it's very clear. You just look at what happened and them delaying this product, delaying this feature after they promised it, and it turns out what they showed us and what they literally advertised on television as a feature coming to the iPhone 16 didn't come to fruition. Someone needs to take responsibility for that, and it sounds like they're finally at least making some changes and holding some people responsible for that. And it sounds like one of the main guys is going to be John Giannandrea, losing some confidence from his CEO and losing some confidence from the AI team as well that you're looking at him right now.
The other issue, as you well know, because we've discussed it so much in recent weeks, is that the analyst community on Wall Street has grown more negative. I'm not saying en masse, but you've had a couple of sell calls of late. And maybe, another shoe drop moment was when Eric Woodring of Morgan Stanley, considered a very influential analyst there, and he still likes the stock over the long term. He still calls it an outperform, but he cut the price target, and I think it was last week. Also noting this big miss. And maybe he used stronger words than that related to Siri and AI.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's and Eric, I think Woodring, he always has a very practical way at looking at these things. And when you look at tariffs, first of all, we got to keep that in mind too when we're talking about the stock. We still don't know what Apple's plans are with tariffs. Last time I asked Tim Cook about that, This was before the tariffs went into effect. He told me they're going to be evaluating and so forth. We have not seen price increases. But either way, just about every analyst on the street doing the math on this, they think that the tariffs are going to have a big issue. And then this AI push. This was supposed to be without new hardware that doesn't really wow people. You have to have something else to wow people to get them out there and upgrade when maybe earlier than they would have. We remember we were talking a year ago that AI would be such a super cycle driver for the iPhone business. Again, that didn't happen. In fact, sales were down in the December quarter versus a year ago when they didn't even have an AI product to bandy about. And so much of the technology, especially their marquee feature right now, it's not an Apple feature, Scott. It is ChatGPT. It's OpenAI. So they're leaning on their own stuff. I'll also talk about, let's tease ahead to WWDC a little bit. They also have to kind of prove that this could be a great development platform for artificial intelligence too. So there's a huge challenge here. We'll see how if these changes on the leadership side do shake out, what that means on the product front. But here's your signal right now, at least, that they're making changes. They know something is wrong here and they understand it. And this is at least the first step of them making changes, who's leading these teams, how they're executing on these things. But they also have a lot of trust to build back too, Scott. We talked about this last week that, coming out there and saying this is going to launch, literally advertising it against NFL games, telling people if you buy an iPhone 16, you're going to get these features, and then having to yank them and say we can't do it. We don't know when it's going to be ready. There's talks that it's not even going to be ready until 2027 now. They're going to have to earn back a lot of trust, and these are going to be the new people in charge, Scott.
And lastly, before I let you go, it's just this whole episode, Steve, is so out of character in some respects for Apple. They're usually not the first, in which they weren't here either. But they usually get it right, and they usually get it maybe best. And in this case, it's not the case.
Yeah, and I've been covering this company for about 15 years now, Scott, and I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because there have been rare misses, yes, where they overpromise and underdeliver, but in general, they say they're going to do something and they do it. So even though, yes, I understood at the time last June that some of these features weren't going to be ready for many months after when we would normally expect them in the fall timeframe when they always launch their software features, the idea that they said, hey, we're on a path to make this stuff happen, and then they can't do it. And in fact, learning that what they showed us was barely functional at all, not letting other people test it. Yeah, they're going to have to really show what they announce next is real, and it's going to be on this new shakeup of leadership to execute on it.
Yeah. Great insight, Steve. I so much appreciate you. Thank you for coming on with us. That's Steve Kovac with the breaking news and then the expert analysis, really. And I like the words, Jason, that he used, benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
Because investors have been always willing, for the most part, to give the benefit of the doubt to this company. Until recently, when the stock started to go down. It's on pace now for its worst month since December of 2022. You own Apple like Josh and Jim. The only thing is you're underweight.
Yeah.
So tell me why.
Yeah, so I think, kind of coming into this year, obviously a lot of the Mag 7 names have run. I think what we were anticipating is, what was going on with tariffs and their hardware exposure. Now, they did get an exemption the first time around. I know Steve just, he just mentioned that. But for me, again, the story always with Apple is, the multiple, 29 times forwards, down 13% with 8% growth rate. Again, services has been the one, that's been the profit center. That's the one that's been growing nicely. But, I thought that there was opportunity elsewhere. As I look back even to earlier part of the show, when we think about the other sectors, 9 of the 11 sectors were positive coming into this week. So there are opportunities elsewhere. We decided to underweight Apple and stay market weight on the rest of the Mag 7 names.
Jim, the valuations come down when it was 31.5 times, and even I'm sure some are still asking the questions at 29 times, 28 times, or whatever. Whether it's still trading at too much a premium valuation for too little premium fundamentals?
Well, I think it is. I'm underweighted as well, Scott. Have been for quite some time, less than half the market weight. If you take the numbers that you just used, 29 times forward multiple, 8% earnings growth, that gives you a PEG ratio of 3.5. That's expensive by any measure. Yeah. And then you've got these, mishaps, I'll call them, with getting the advanced Siri, the AI Siri going. And it has me on the sidelines as far as adding to it. Now, I have added to other mega cap techs, NVIDIA and Microsoft, not Apple. I think the better question is not why I don't add to it, but why do I own it at all? And I think this is important to address. It's not just that it's such a huge weighting in the passive index. It's not just the buybacks. It's that there is a retail shareholder base that is borderline fanatic about this. It was about 3 months ago. I was on the air. I think you were here, Scott, and I said, at some point I might actually remove Apple from the portfolio. I got so many howls. I mean, we're a big firm. We've got $125 billion in assets under management. I got howls from clients. I got howls from advisors. Some of them said, you will remove shares from my portfolio when you pry them from my dead hands. Now, it's not just storytelling that I'm engaging here. There is as I said, quasi-fanatical investor base here, retail investor base, that is not to be trifled with. So if they get this right, and obviously there are some questions right now, I think that fanatical shareholder base will expand. In the meantime, I'm not adding to it at this multiple, to get back to your original question.
Yeah. Well, it moves us in some respects to the company that seemingly has gotten almost all of it right, and that is NVIDIA, which is having its AI event. Josh, it's still going on. You do have a number of calls today.
I got to do Apple. I got to do it. I can't let this go.
Okay,
I can't let this go.
Go ahead.
I said earlier this year, this is not going to be one of the best periods to be an Apple shareholder. You had this insanely high multiple. You had Berkshire Hathaway actively liquidating huge amounts of stock, billions of dollars worth of stock, and you really didn't have the benefit of that launch in the fall with the full features that Apple has come to be expected to. Like, we have this expectation that when Apple launches something, it's not in two parts. It's not, here, upgrade your phone, and we swear to God in 6 months it's going to do awesome things. This has been a horrendous period for Apple, but part of being a long-term shareholder, part of the ability to make 1,000% in a stock is to accept the fact that there are going to be amazing years and not so great years and occasionally terrible years, and that you don't know when one is going to end and the other is going to begin. So I am not giving up on Apple. I'm not suggesting this stock's about to outperform the market over the next 90 days, but here's what I'm going to tell you. This is the largest installed base of devices in the world. There's 7 billion people on Earth, and there's 1 billion devices. And if and when they do figure out how to do consumer AI, not enterprise, not whatever the LLMs are doing, consumer AI, they will be the best at it. They will have it being used by the most amount of people. And I'm going to tell you something. I get it. ChatGPT, all these other apps, Perplexity, blah, blah, blah. None of those companies can monetize without paying Apple 1/3 of their revenue, the toll, so to speak. So it's too soon to say that Apple lost the AI battle, and it's too soon to give up on the idea that ultimately, A, they'll get it right, B, they'll make more money from it than any other company, including the LLMs.
Here's the thing, though. You said, the words you used were, this has been a terrible period for Apple.
Yeah.
It really hasn't. I mean, if you look, and it goes back. Well, let me go back. Oh yeah, but let me go back to where I was going to go. It goes back to the benefit of the doubt, because the stock hit 250 in late October. It was getting the benefit of the doubt that they were going to get it right. It was only recently, really, that the stock started to pull back when it became more clear that, okay, maybe there are more issues than we thought. Maybe expectations need to be dialed back. Maybe price targets need to come down. Maybe overall ratings on the shares need to be pulled back as well. It is only now, Josh, feeling that pain. For a while, it was getting the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. It should get the benefit of the doubt. It's the most profitable company in the history of the world, other than NVIDIA. So it should. That's first. But this is more important about the innovation piece. Henry Ford once said, if I had asked my customers what they want, they would have said faster horses. I'm not interested in what Wall Street thinks Apple's AI product should be. Wall Street is not Cupertino. They will get it right. I don't know how long it takes. And that's why I'm not table pounding. Yes, you must have a fresh position in Apple here at 214. I accept the fact that they're in a horrible, embarrassing period. Scott, you're right. The stock hasn't paid the price for the level of embarrassment they've just experienced technologically. And maybe there might be more of a price to pay in the short term. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. I would just point out, this is a do you understand? People were coming on this network 10 years ago and saying Apple is falling behind on social media. They should buy Twitter. Do you know how insane people are? They were saying Apple should build a car and compete with Hyundai. Like, this is the level of Wall Street's suspension of disbelief around this stuff. I'm not interested in what a sell-side analyst types from his laptop on the Metro North on the way from Fairfield, Connecticut to Midtown Manhattan. Let Apple be Apple. They're never first, but they will ultimately get it right. That's all I'm saying. And as a shareholder, I'm not going anywhere until they figure it out. And when they do, nobody's going to make more money than they do. Nobody.